Good evening and welcome to the joint meeting of two entities, the Social Services Committee and the Housing Community Development Committee. We're both meeting this evening to go over some very important issues, and we ask for your patience and idea and involvement. We encourage involvement for all of the community because most of this affects all of our communities here in Evanston. And as we try to hold everyone up, we are waiting on roll call to be happening because we want to start the meeting and be very diligent with everyone's time.
All right, I'm going to start with the Social Services Committee. Chair Hayes,
Present.
Vice Chair Nagola,
Present.
Renee Phillips,
Right here. Present.
Mercedes Fernandez,
Present.
Ken Rowling, oh, Samantha Oldsbry.
Present.
Thank you. Great. All right, and now I will move to Housing and Community Development Committee. Vice Chair Salemi.
Here.
Did I say your name properly?
Zalomi, yeah.
Salemi, thank you.
Got it right.
Okay. Councilmember Isles.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Karakaris.
Here.
Thank you. Councilmember Rogers. Thank you. Emily Maloney. Nope. Okay. Fran Sweeney. Here. Chloe Thurston.
Here.
Okay, perfect. We have a quorum. We have a quorum of both committees.
Thank you very much. I believe that we are asking for HCDC to start with their presentation and approval.
We are going to start with public comment
Okey doke.
of this joint Social Services and Housing and Community Development Committee. We have two different public comment, the regular public comment, as well as a public comment around the 2025-2029 Consolidated Plan, 25 Action Plan, and updated Citizen Participation Plan. We have two people that are signed up in person for public comment. Tina Payton.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to make a comment on the executive summary for this meeting. In the introduction, it talks about the HUD Consolidated Plan and said that the goal was to provide decent and housing for low and moderate income. HUD is 30% AMI. The city's inclusionary housing ordinance is 60% AMI. All new downtown development in Evanston is 60% AMI. That means that they're not required to take any HUD programming. No Section 8, no Connection for the Homeless, Catholic Charities, or any agencies that take HUD programming. So the city continues to say, yes, fair and equitable for everyone, but the developers get the breaks, but persons that accept the vouchers, like myself, we don't get anything. Also, I believe that's modern day redlining. When I go to these meetings, in general, I'm the only Black person in the room for the luxury tall buildings for Northwestern students. Paragraph number 2, lack of affordable housing. CDBG is not helping HUD or 30% AMI landlords taking a voucher. Instead, Property Standards is running around with a code violation book and giving me code violations. And if I'm not mistaken, the Housing and Community Development Committee provided $200,000 to target me and people like me. Instead of giving us money to help fix up our buildings, we get a code violation instead. How about creating a livable community? Fixing up parks instead of housing. In the 5th Ward, it approved $1.7 million for a skate park. How many people could you house for $1.7 million? Now, you're talking about Twiggs Park and renovation. How much money did you spend on the study for that park? And how much money are you planning on spending to renovate the park? Also, the 5th Ward, or the economic development in the packet. Talk about economic development. And here you say it's a low priority in the packet, in your packet. Economic development is a low priority for people in the HUD programming. Why is it a low priority? It doesn't seem to be a low priority in white neighborhoods downtown. Seems to be a discussion every day at City Council. While there's no banks in the 5th Ward, no grocery store, no clothing store, and all the other areas in Evanston get help. So are you really concerned about having access to low income or just the rich people? Public services. You said they need case management and child care. So let's just keep giving the money to the agencies for child care and case management, but where are they gonna live? Where are the people gonna live? Community feedback. I've been talking at City Council for 40 years this year. And I've been talking about affordable housing, and I've been a manager for 25 years. Only money that I see that goes, you give it to consultants. I've been to 5th Ward meetings, and it's a big presentation on how inequitable and unfair it is in the 5th Ward or low-income neighborhoods in the 8th Ward. Same presentation year after year, just change the name, who's presenting it, and a couple of items. You said you need more trees, but the landlord, before the city bought it, cut down 40 to 50 trees at Emerson and Jackson, but we need more trees. City doesn't even take care of the trees after they plant them, wasting more money. We ask for simple things. We're talking about public comment. I see, yes, you did acknowledge me in the packet that I made public comment last year. Well, I say the same thing every year with no action. We ask for simple things like garbage cans and recycle bins at the corner. And you wonder why the 5th Ward or 8th Ward looks so trashy? We don't even have a garbage can at the corner. What does the city say? Oh, Ms. Payton, if you would go empty the garbage can, we'll put one there. but you think it's okay to spend 1.7 million on a skate park, but you can't even put a garbage can or recycle bin? It's one on Central Street, all up and down Central Street. So are we fair and equitable? How about cutting bus services? What about the electric bus? While you're passing ordinances about electricity, and the kids are on the bus smelling diesel fuel. So who are we talking about here? While you're sitting over here passing the healthy building ordinance, so we'll have to comply, but who's going to help us comply? Are you going to help us comply? Because I've been asking the same thing for years. I'd like to turn electric, but it's very expensive. Are you helping the landlords that are providing the low-income people? It looks like you're giving bonuses to the big developers. How about you are not supporting the landlords who are taking it? And you're sitting up here giving the same CDBG grants, ESG, and so forth to the same people. So I guess you have to be friends of the City of Evanston funds. And there should be a limit on who gets the grants. I see the same people get the grants every year. I've never received one dime for the City of Evanston, while my family have provided affordable housing for well over 50 years. But you give it to the same people, friends of the City of Evanston. So when you think about fair and equitable of your plan, who are you talking about? It's not me. And it's not the low-income family landlords that you're talking about. Soon, there will be no low income in Evanston, because I don't think that's your goal. And soon, there will not be any place for them to live, because we'll be outpriced. Thank you.
We have Carlos B. Sutton.
Good evening. I've read your plan, and the only thing I could say is fatally false. It's fatally false, and it's fatally flawed. You do not address the real issues in this community. We've had displacement of so many black families in the Fifth Ward with no plans to bring them back. We have all this empty land that you're selling to developers, but you won't put a blade of grass in a land trust. When I look at that sign, housing and community development, to me, it's just gentrification on steroids. When we get up every morning and walk down my block, the neighborhood has consistently changed. We now have 3 very problematic tenants and absentee landlords. We get no support from the city. We came here today, and the only thing was written was a fine. And we as landlords, the people who came here today, pay over $40,000 a year in property tax. And we can't get any kind of response from the city for our concerns. I look at all those garbage cans that I'm paying for. This is ridiculous. And the water bill. I look at the taxes that you have no control over from the school district, but you have no plans for elderly people to stay in their homes. You don't have any subsidies for people of color to go into the new elderly buildings that you're building. So you sit here thinking about you making plans for Evanston. The only thing I can say, get a good look at us, because in 20 years we won't be here. Thank you.
Thank you. And that is the end of public comment.
And there's no commenters online? Thank you.
Not that was signed up on the form prior to the deadline.
the public comment and the regular comments?
Lee.
So, we're talking about housing again. So I go to the meetings where they're planning on 605 Davis, 31-story luxury apartment building. I was the only black person at the meeting. Why is that? Fair and equitable? How are we even notifying people? This is kind of a disgrace in the room that you're talking about something so important as housing and there's nobody here. How do you notify people and get them engaged? There's no community engagement. You sit up here and make decisions, and you're trying to supposedly help the people, but you're not. Who are you engaging? Are you engaging the landlords to try to incentivize landlords to take people with vouchers, HUD vouchers? Are you trying to get people to come to the meeting that need a HUD voucher or that need places to live? Where are they? So I think you need to stop talking about, oh, let's hire a consultant to find out what the people need and get the people in the room. Get the people in the room. And stop redlining in downtown Evanston. And I'm not going to call any names, but I was talking to a person and I said, you know, some of these things should be on the ballot for the citizens to vote. And she said that was unfair to the housing, the low-income people. Why is it unfair? If they live in Evanston, they can vote just like me. Why is it unfair? And then I said, how come you always support the big, tall developers when you know that they don't accept HUD programming? She said they don't belong there. The low-income people, they don't belong there. It's an interesting comment. Redlining all over again. So let's think about when you're saying fair and equitable, who are you saying? Who are you helping? Who are you talking about? No notification.
We don't have any more public comment.
I'm sorry, a little choked up this evening. Thank you very much. Thank you for your comment. And I believe we will be moving now on to the Housing and Community Development Committee and the issues that we're here to go over this evening. I believe Mr. Rogers? No, we have no one remotely.
No, that's my mistake. Councilmember Rogers is present in the room tonight. He will be virtual at the next meeting. So we do not have any virtual participation, but thank you for remembering.
Thank you. I believe we're going to have a presentation by the staff.
Yes.
Thank you.
You wanna, yeah. So the conversation tonight is about the substantial change that staff made to the 2025, 2029 Consolidated Plan and 2025 Action Plan, as well as the Citizen Participation Plan, which I'll talk about a little bit after, that was approved last December by HCDC. We made those changes because, as you know, last December we approved the plan based on allocation by percentage of an estimated grant. We now have received the awards for the final awards for FY 2025. And because Congress voted to go flat to last year, as they couldn't vote a new budget, we actually received more funding than expected, and which is wonderful news. On top of that, we also made the threshold for direct allocation of emergency grant solution by $8 this year. So if you remember, we lost it last year because we missed the threshold by $600. This year we were lucky and we made it. So we had to update the plan, and because this is a new source of funding, it created a substantial change. Therefore, needed to go back to the committee and reopen public comment. Usually this is something that can be done administratively, but because there was larger changes, we need to go through the process again. So as you can see on the slide, we anticipated we would get a 15 to 20% cut in CDBG. We actually received close to 1.7 million. We got less program income. We were expecting about 15, we got 8. My apologies. For home, we anticipated about 275,000, and we got 309. And we got the typical program income. ESG, as you can see, we expected to get nothing. We weren't really sure exactly which way things were going to go, but we did get $150,008. Now, it's important to note that when the city doesn't get direct allocation of emergency solution grant, we don't fully lose the funding. The funding gets swiped and goes to the state, and then the state's reallocated through the continuum of care. So as an example, last year, we were very thankful that the continuum of care allocated some funding. It doesn't go specifically to Evanston, but there's still some funding for our area. Now, those are the FY 2025 grants. We did not update the plan to include more than 1 year of emergency solutions grant. We don't expect it, particularly based on the fact we made the threshold by $8 with flat funding, and given how things are going at Congress level, we just don't expect we'll get it in the future. It's possible we will. Oak Park was in the same situation 5 to 8 years ago, and they didn't get it for 2 years, and then 1 year they got it again. So that's actually what led us to re-review the citizen participation plan, to make the small change that I'll talk about after, to make sure that we can meet our deadline. So if you look at the draft comp plan, we made some changes for ESG to include it, but we didn't project any more than just what we're sure we're going to get. Yes, if you want to maybe go to the spreadsheet. So in the packet, we had a spreadsheet, which is a spreadsheet that you may be familiar with for some of you, maybe most of you, that we present every year with our estimated allocation, actual allocation, and we split it up. It's not the easiest spreadsheet to read because you got a lot of information, but we split it up by goal. And then underneath the goal, we have the different source of funding that can be applicable to the goal. Thank you. That one, if you can zoom, because I don't think anyone can. I know I can't see it. Ooh. You don't need, yeah. Can you, big, for people like me that can't see anything. Okay, and if you can go up, because I want affordable housing. Okay, so I left in there 2023 and 2024 actual to give you an idea and remind you kind of what changes we'd discussed. Those are the first two columns. I left the 2025 estimated by percentage, which is the plan that you approved last December. And then I added two columns. One was if we keep the allocation by percentage the way they were voted and used a new grant amount, where would the allocation land? And then the second column is what we are suggesting and have included in the consolidated plan or an action plan. So essentially, we didn't make a ton of changes. We did reduce the allocation by percentage for affordable housing for the reason that if we kept the percentage, we would have gotten close to $600,000 for housing rehab. We are already sitting on, I believe there's about $300,000 of program income that we're still using up. And we're projecting a transfer from a closeout of a previous program, an SB2, this year. So it felt like we were allocating enough funds. If you remember, so we kept it an increase. We increased it by $50,000, but we did not do the full increase. Additionally, we raised the allocation for affordable housing for home, which is usually utilized for bricks and sticks affordable housing projects, acquisition and rehab, or fully affordable housing project. We raised it a little bit. That allocation usually gets split between tenant-based rental assistance, which is under the homelessness goal, which is the second yellow line, if you can go a little bit to the left. That allocation is $175,000. It's usually an annual allocation through an agreement. Same thing, we have previous year funding here, so that increase would be better use in a bricks and stick project, essentially. So we kept the same amount for tenant-based rental assistance because we have some funding from prior year we're still using, and we allocated to bricks and sticks. So that's what led to the decrease in the percentage by goal for affordable housing, but we still have an increase in funding. We didn't decrease it fully. So in the third column, you can see affordable housing total goal used to be 43.94%. It's now 38.01%. However, it was originally $725,000. The funding is now $836,000. So there's still an increase, just not the full increase of what the funding allocation was. So that's one thing we can discuss tonight. The second thing we did is with the extra CDBG funding that we got through this unexpected increase in funding, under livable community for public facilities and infrastructure improvement, that's where we took the biggest cut when we were expecting and projecting funding cuts, particularly in CDBG. You can see that in prior year, we were hovering $700,000, $660,000. For this consolidated plan, we had allocated $250,000. Reason for that is we heard loud and clear that affordable housing was one of the biggest priority. And we wanted to make sure that the plan was reflecting this. We have this opportunity with a little bit additional funding. $250,000 usually does not cover a full project. Project under this category usually includes alley paving, sidewalk improvements, sometimes park, as allowed under CDBG regulation. So we moved some of this additional funding under this goal to about $420,000 to ensure that we had enough of a pot to do a full project potentially next year. We don't know where funding is going in the future. Doing that move allowed us to balance kind of the priority and make sure we had most of our funding under affordable housing, but still allowed enough of a pot to do a full project should there be much more drastic cuts in the future. $257 is doable, but it's a much smaller project and it reduces opportunity as far as what we can choose to do. And then the other change we made was for administration goal, the funding went up quite a bit. So administration goal the funding went up, but we reduced the percentage. We didn't take as big as a share as originally planned. I think that kind of sums up the broad stroke of what changes were made in the plan and why. Is there any question or anything that you would like to discuss? Go back. No questions?
I have one question,
Yes.
Marion.
Okay,
So
yes.
one thing that came up in public comment was the economic development piece of the plan. And I know you can explain better
Yep.
than I can at this. Like I know in 2024, we had kind of small business microloans, which
Yeah.
I remember proved very difficult to administer programmatically. And so if you could just kind of let the public know why.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that'd be helpful. Thanks.
So, economic development under CDBG is very, very restricted. Not only, so there's a couple ways to do economic development. One is job creation, which is very, very hard on the business as far as like the length of the amount of hours, the dollar. It's a very, very complex process. And the other one is micro enterprise, which is a business that qualifies as eligible because the owner themselves are low moderate income, so under 80% AMI, and that does not have more than 5 employees, including all owners, with the business. It does not suffice that the business is in a CDBG target area. It needs to be in that area and serve the people of that area, which can be also very challenging. We have done some economic development in collaboration with the economic development team. We are currently still spending some of the funding that were allocated in the last plan, which was not a lot of money, and finding that the burden on documentation and requirements around those programs are proving to be very challenging for those business owners and sometimes not always worthwhile for them. Right now, there is funding available for an economic development business grant for the micro enterprise level. We did have $70,000 available. So far, we've disbursed 10. I'm waiting to hear if there's any more business that qualify. I am not sure we will be able to disperse all those funds based on the requirements. I'm not saying there's not a need. That's definitely not what I'm saying. It's just a little bit challenging to get those specific programs to work here.
Thank you. Because I know when we talked about this, I think it was in the fall, right?
Yeah,
And
last July, the HCDC approved $70,000
Yeah.
for this program. Yes.
And I think it's instructive that, a lot of this federal money has really intense like documentation and processes and limitations, and it's unfortunate that it ended up being so cumbersome. But yeah, because it is, economic development is important in all neighborhoods. But I just wanted everyone to know why that number went to 0. So thank you.
Yeah, we were able to do a little bit more during COVID because through the CARES Act, they provided some flexibility and waivers. Those are not valid anymore. So we're back to the regular rules. Yeah, thank you.
Ols Fry.
Thank you. To put a finer point and just make sure I'm fully understanding, as I'm newer to sort of this process and want to make sure I'm tracking everything. it's not that the city is saying that economic development isn't a priority. It's that CDBG funding has so many strings and requirements that it may not be the right revenue source to promote economic development. And that might be something where we look at other revenue sources or have other projects that we fund elsewhere. And that we're just looking at the CDBG funding and ESG and home funding that has very federally mandated requirements. And that sort of is narrowing our scope in order to effectively and efficiently spend those federal dollars that we have to invest in the community. Am I tracking correctly?
It's very well stated.
Perfect. Thank you.
Alderman Lyles? Are there any more comments or questions or clarifications needed on the staff's presentation?
I'm happy if you'd like, before we go to vote, to explain the changes on the participation plan as well, as that also impacts kind of the consolidated plan process. So the citizen participation plan that we put in the packet included all the changes that have been made, including the change that were approved last December. The key change that we are suggesting here is related to the section that was striked through regarding the idea of having to hold a joint social services and HCDC meeting to approve a substantial amendment. What we're suggesting with this change is that social services will be updated on any substantial amendment. You do meet before HCDC on the calendar. You can provide a recommendation if you wish to HCDC if there's any concerns. But we're suggesting that we are not required to hold a joint meeting. The reason for this is because in a situation like tonight, we got our allocation mid-May. We had to post the plan essentially this Tuesday to open for comments for 30 days, to then go to City Council, get it approved, and submitted by August, which is the final deadline. Technically, we should have provided it much sooner. They provided us an extension to HUD. There is very little or no flexibility on this. If for some reason one of you had not been able to join, we may not have had quorum. On a joint meeting, we are required to have quorum on both committee. And so this is very, very restrictive based on the timeline that we have to submit things in a timely manner to HUD. We're hoping that this change in the process will provide a little bit more flexibility for you committee members without removing any way for you to be able to weigh in and provide recommendation.
Questions or comment on the reason for the combined meeting?
I'll just say, as a social service committee member, that makes perfect sense. I think all of us are serving to improve the community of Evanston and definitely don't want to create a logistic barrier. So this is a very logical change.
Yes, those deadlines are something else. And we're trying to positively affect quality of life for all residents. So given that there are no more questions or comments on the two presentations, thank you very much to staff for providing this information to us. And thank you guys for going through a lot of this information. I know it's a lot for one meeting, so. Are we open for more discussion before requesting votes? Okay, I'm looking. So we are ready for a vote. Could I please have a motion?
I so move.
I'll second that.
Well,
Do I need to
okay.
say the full thing, Marion? Okay. Oh, goodness. All right. I should have gone. So I so move for the adoption of the updated
Here, wait, sorry.
funding allocation and public participation plan. Did I get the words close enough?
Yes, so Social Services Committee is moving to accept this
we go.
information and place it on file, both for the con plan and for the citizen participation plan.
Perfect, thank you. Yes, I do move that.
And
I
I
have a
second.
second?
Clarification from staff, do we need separate votes from?
Yes, we
so-
do.
So I can't.
No.
So I need a social service second.
I can second that. I will second that.
Thank you.
That's a great team.
Separate votes on the items or the committees?
Committees.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, I
Yes.
thought it might
So
be in
the
there.
Housing and Community Development Act, the Housing and Community Development Committee, I just showed my age there, is voting to recommend the consolidated plan and citizen participation plan to City Council. That is the difference. So
can we,
I'm sorry, and so Social
Social
Services
Services.
is voting to accept both plans and place them on the public record, since they will impact.
correct.
Yes, please.
All right, so should I say them separately?
Yes, please.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna go.
Now, do you want?
I got
There
it.
you go, we got a cheat
I got it
sheet
now.
for you.
I am moving for the
Place this on.
Approval of,
for the approval, right, of the recommended draft of the 25 to 29 consolidated plan incorporating 2025 entitlement grants to on the record,
On the record.
And this, right?
but I have to do them separately. So that's the end of my
Oh,
motion.
no, you can, I'm sorry, you can do the plans together because you're accepting and placing on file. I apologize. Yes.
All right, Marion told me I couldn't. And
Are you-
the approval to recommend the draft of the 2024 citizen participation plan.
Okay, yes, please.
And I second. Is that, okay.
can we please have a roll call vote?
Yes.
Thank
Chair
you.
Hayes,
Yay.
Vice Chair Nagola,
Aye.
Renee Phillips,
Aye.
Mercedes Fernandez.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Harris
Aye.
and Samantha Olds Fry.
Aye.
Thank you. And Ken Rowling.
Aye.
Thank you.
Can you speak up a little bit? I'm hard to hear.
Oh, sure. No, thank you. Thank you. Okay. So now we need a motion from the Housing and Community Development Committee.
So, Housing and Community, I move that the Housing and Community Development Committee approve and recommend the draft plans of the consolidated plan and the citizen participation plan to City Council for approval at the July 14th meeting of City Council.
I second.
Thank you. Okay. Councilmember Isles.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Karkaris.
Aye.
Councilmember Rogers.
Aye.
Thank you. No. Thank you. Fran Sweeney.
Aye.
Chloe Thurston.
Aye.
Thank you. And Joanne Zulimi.
Aye.
Zulimi. Great. Thank you. Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you all very much for your patience. Both pass on from HCDC as well as for the SSC committee. We are going to have now a brief adjournment to roll into the second meeting.
So can I get a motion for HCDC to adjourn? Do we need to do that? No? Great. Nope. Okay.
Hold on.
Sorry about that.
So HCDC is adjourned. Thank you for joining. Social services will start in 5 minutes.